Welcome back to ESVR Boxing's YouTube channel. As always, delighted to be joined by Danny. This is a reaction video to the news that Conor Benn has released a statement, an official statement from his social media profiles, confirming that the WBC obviously confirmed that he is innocent, as had UKAD. Danny, thank you for joining me. First things first, I'm just going to read out the statement so that anyone's watching this video who hasn't seen it is aware of it. I'm sure you've read. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be doing this video. But I will just read it out. Today marks the end of a grueling 10-month process during which the WBC had already decided that I was innocent of any wrongdoing. After a hearing with a national anti-doping panel and UKAD, I have now been vindicated for the second time. Hopefully, the public and various members of the media can now understand why I have maintained my innocence so strongly all the way through. The UKAD process has now formally ended and I remain free to fight. Naturally, I am pleased that I can now put this behind me once and for all. As you can imagine, the last 10 months have weighed heavily on me, and I am anxious that if this happened to me, it could potentially happen to any honest, dedicated and clean athlete like me. I would like to thank my fans that have kept the faith when many have turned against me, as well as my team, Matchroom, my friends and family, sponsors, and also my legal team, all of whom have shared a belief in me and a commitment to ensure the correct result being obtained and justice being achieved. Only with the strength of all this support have I been able to continue during this challenging time. I now intend to put this matter behind me and look forward, which begins with fighting as soon as possible so I can remind everyone who I am. Thank you for listening to that, Danny, as well as anyone else who's watching this video. Not the lengthiest of statements, but not a short one either, crafted by Conor Benn himself. Danny, what is your reaction to that statement? As I'm kind of reading that out to you, Matchroom are kind of tweeting about his return, and Conor Benn's tweeting other things himself. What's your reaction to that statement?
Well, it's not the biggest surprise. I know Eddie Hearn said in a few interviews recently he expects it to be resolved soon, and that he expects sort of the outcome that Ben outlined in that statement. I'm not going to dissect it fully. There's like a few things you could pick out. Like, don't think the WBC ever declared him innocent. I think it was more they couldn't say without doubt that he was guilty. So sort of two very different things there. But yeah, interesting. Hopefully we hear a statement from UKAD, maybe explaining why he's been, what was the word, vindicated. Which is sort of strange word used. It's not mentioned at any point in that statement UKAD have like declared him innocent or cleared him or anything like that, which I would imagine would be the choice of language you would go for personally. But so we'll see on that front. But a part of me is like, as in the dark as we still are at the minute, I know this won't be the end of it, but this will maybe be the start of the end of it, because it has got quite boring, to be honest. Even as someone who like goes to shows and press conferences, and you sort of have to ask it to the likes of Eddie Hearn, you can tell he's getting tired talking about it, and you're sort of getting tired asking about it. Although you do have to ask. So one way or another, I'll be sort of glad to hear the back of chatting about this, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's been draining for a lot of people. Whether it be people who do the sort of thing that we do, Conor Benn's team, people who have to answer questions like Eddie Hearn. So yeah, it's nice to have some sort of conclusion here, but I think without a doubt, there's still just a bit of a dark cloud. And the main thing I want to get on to you with you, Danny, is what frustrates me is that we've not been given an explanation as to why Conor Benn failed 2 tests. It's a fact that he failed 2 tests. That's not a conspiracy theory. We obviously had that Piers Morgan interview, which I don't know if you describe that a car crash interview or what. It was a kind of a, yeah, I don't think we came out of that interview with any answers. I don't think we really got any answers after this statement. And after 10 months of this, I don't think we really know what happened here. And I kind of want to know, will we know what happened? Because I think as fans, as media, if you're kind of a future opponent for Conor Benn, I think you deserve to know what's the explanation for this. You don't necessarily have to kind of have any comment on that, because I understand you possibly can't, because it's just a bit of a mystery. But what do you make of the fact that in this statement, and so far we've not been given some sort of solution to some of these questions?
Yeah, it's so like I don't even know what's the word, but the whole thing was, so his whole defense was they were pursuing this contamination from Vada, and they was getting indignant at any suggestion that they were like pursuing the eggs route, which sort of became a bit of a meme. So they were sort of suggesting that both the A and the B samples got contaminated whilst at Vada, like, which has previously Eddie Hearn has described as like the gold standard of testing. So like, if are UCAD going to come out? Is the explanation going to be that UCAD accepted and they had seen evidence that it could have been contaminated at VADA, which I can't imagine what that would look like. And the idea of UCAD, who are, as far as I understand it, not regarded as highly in the anti-doping sort of scene as VADA, coming out and saying we're clearing them because we think it could have been contaminated at VADA. That doesn't really add up to me. Or is it going to come out that they've sort of switched to the, oh, it could have been eggs or it could have been contamination of food? And then we've started seeing this thing recently about how he might not have been under UCAD's like jurisdiction to serve a ban, which is like, is that not just essentially admitting you're cheating, but like you're getting off on a technicality, really, if that's the route? So again, you hope we get an explanation of some form or another. As we were saying off call, how likely that is, I'm not sure, but there are still so many questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, look, I think Matchroom have released an interview with Eddie Hearn already. And I don't think that's going to be the most pressing interview you're going to see. So what I kind of want is, look, I know we're all sick of it, but at the same time, I do want people like yourself asking Eddie Hearn and those kind of involved in the situation actual kind of pressing questions on what's happened here. However, I think kind of it is a fact now Conor Benn is free to fight in the UK. Beforehand, he wasn't free to fight in the UK. I think that's one thing that's changed here. There was at one point it looked like he was going to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr. I think it was Dubai, or Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So whereas now I think he's come out and said he would like to return to the UK. He's kind of changed his words in recent months. His last fight was April last year against Chris Van Heerden. So it's been coming up to a year and a half now since he was last in the ring. First question, Danny, do you think he is going to go into a big fight? I know he's not going to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr. next, but could he go into a big fight against a top 10 welterweight, perhaps?
I don't think so. I think they would have made the Eubank Jr. one straight away, but I think he'll come back and like more of a chin up, I would say. Gonna be very interesting to see how he looks, and like you can imagine, like even like the slightest hint of a flat performance, all the fucking the daggers will be out. But I don't think so, not straight away. I think it'll be like probably a similar level he was fighting previously, like sort of like some sort of washed up half name, like if we're calling a spade a spade. Especially as I say with the Eubank Junior Smith fight now announced, and I know there's been talk of Kell Brook, but again, sort of judging from Hearn's comments in recent interviews, it doesn't seem to be a fight they're looking at straight away. Although it's an interesting fight, I suppose, but nah, I don't think so.
Just to like challenge you on that, why do you think they're not looking at that Kell Brook fight? Conor Benn and Kell Brook had that altercation ringsides at whatever fight it was a month or so ago. Kell Brook's a big name in British boxing. Kell Brook is past his best, hasn't been in the ring since it was February last year, that Amir Khan fight. Why do you think, why do you think that's not being looked at as an option at the moment, if that is the case?
I'm not sure. Just the way when it would be like brought up to Hearn in an interview, Like you can tell when he's keen on a fight and there's talk of it and there's a noticeable difference. Which I agree with you. It makes a lot of sense. If you're sort of backing Conor Benn, that like Kell Brook's a huge name in British boxing still. Like people won't have forgot that Amir Khan fight. The only sort of thing is like Kell Brook looked a lot. I know Cam was what he was that night. Brook did look quite good. Obviously not what he was like fighting Sean Porter and Errol Spence and that there, but like that version of Kell Brook would still be a huge jump from what Conor Benn had been fighting. Like there's no guarantee he would win that. So maybe they're thinking Kell doesn't have a great deal of options. Realistically, Conor Benn's probably the biggest fight for him. So maybe if we can make that in the new year whilst getting a run out, see what Conor looks like after all this and whatever that might entail. I'm not going to get myself sued here. As opposed to sort of jumping straight in. And like Benn is Eddie's biggest potential future earner, I would say, at the minute. Like it or lump it, his profile will be bigger now when he first fights, like after the ban, or not the ban, sorry, the being cleared than it ever has been. So he'll not want to be getting him beat straight away.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think so. It's look, yeah, it's an interesting situation in terms of what's going to happen next. But like we do have discussions in the past over a worry over who the future pay-per-view stars are of British boxing, because there aren't that many names that jump out, but Conor Benn, he is that guy, big name, character, can punch, can like, so he's been exciting fights. He looks like he is the future British boxing. After, if you consider who else there is kind of on the come up. So we'll just got to see what happens in the next few fights. Final question, Danny. Conor Benn in 2-3 months' time is main eventing a fight, whether it's a big fight or not. But if say he's the main event, he's making his ring walk. What do you think the reception will be for those in attendance?
Oh, it will be booze, won't it? Surely. I don't know, mate. Because see, you do go on Twitter, and there are sort of like, I don't know if they're bots or whatever, but there are a lot of people like fantastic news. Can't wait to see you back in the ring. And I don't know, people are pretty susceptible to propaganda. And I think I sort of one interview of him up, like talking about his mental health struggles. And you never know, people like might. And if they do get that, you never know, maybe there will be some explanation that comes out that makes people who are a bit more skeptical, maybe like you and I, sort of retract what we were saying. But I don't know, you would imagine it would be hostile. But then if he's main eventing, are people paying money to come and boo? Maybe.
Yeah. We'll have to see. It kind of maybe depends on the occasion. Obviously, like the reception on Twitter and the reception kind of in person could be quite different. But that's one thing.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. If he fought Kell Brook, he would get booed. Because a lot of people will come to that, and Kell Brook's like quite popular. He would get booed if he fought Kell Brook.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if he fought Chris Eubank Jr., there'd be a lot of people. Yeah, there'd be a lot of people who were maybe wanting Ben to win, who would now want Eubank Jr. to win. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. It's a shame that fight's not happening next, to be honest. But is what it is. Danny, thank you for your time. Been interesting to talk about this with you. And look, whether you're looking forward to Conor Benn being back in the ring or not, he will be back in the ring. And I think that will happen in the next 2 to 3 months personally. And yeah, we'll see who that's against and how much of a challenge it is. Danny, thank you very much for joining me. I will speak to you again soon.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.